Hi, this is Adrienne Jeanette with the University Museums at Iowa State. I am the curator, one of the curators with the University Museums, working here at the Brunier Art Museum, which we are in today, to talk about an exhibition of recent acquisitions. So all of the objects I'm going to talk about today have been recently acquired, at least in about the past 2 years, to our collection. And they're all on view in the new front gallery of the Brunier Art Museum. The Laurie A. Jacobson Gallery here. And this is a wonderful new space and an opportunity for us to not only highlight this beautiful new space, but also many of the new objects that have come into the collection that we've been honored and lucky enough to both have donated to us and to have been able to purchase. So the first object I want to talk about is this wonderful ceramic vase, covered vase. It is by the artist Roberto Lugo, who lives in Philadelphia, and it is porcelain. And this was actually a commission, so it was something that we chose as University Museums to commission the artist, Roberto Lugo, to create for us. And if you can't quite see it from far away, but we'll have some closer up images, the image of the face on this vase is of George Washington Carver, one of our most distinguished alumnus here from Iowa State. And he graduated just over 125 years ago, or 125 years ago this year, with his master's degree. And so we honor Carver in many ways throughout campus, and several of those ways are through art. And today we wanted to have kind of a new way to honor him through art. And so this commission the idea was to commission Lugo, who has become really well known for creating these really unique vessels that incorporate imagery of Black and brown people in both pop culture and history, from Frederick Douglass to Tupac Shakur or Michael Jordan to George Washington Carver, and placing them together in this imagery on this very important type of kind of over-the-top, beautiful porcelain objects that have this long history of European wealth and luxury. So porcelain in the 18th century was very much about luxury and opulence, and you had to be very wealthy to own it. And so this is based on the great European porcelain manufacturers like Sèvres in France, as you see here, or Meissen in Germany. And the images would never have been Black or brown people at that time. It was always white people. And so the question is why? Why not? Why couldn't Black and brown people be included and honored in this way with portraits on objects that were so opulent and luxurious as such as these? And so Lugo really plays around with that idea. And for him, pottery is just a way to really engage with his community and the world that he lives in Philadelphia. And so he uses the porcelain to both be kind of a community builder and a way to further kind of bring out the importance of the people he's honors and has lived with and he looks up to in his world, including a lot of himself, kind of self-portraits of why can't you be in your own portrait in a piece of porcelain. And so this vessel is kind of very unique. You see the motifs and the designs are very much of Roberto Lugo's work. He has a kind of a history in graffiti as a young artist that he then developed into pottery. And so you see that very kind of urban style that is very different from traditional porcelain manufacturing. And so it's kind of this really beautiful juxtaposition between, again, this very wealthy, luxurious material and kind of bringing it into today's culture. The next object that I want to talk about in the recent acquisitions exhibition is this beautiful beaded neck piece by Joyce J. Scott. It is titled Fairy Tale Neck Piece, and it's all beadwork, which is an incredibly unique and interesting medium. For me, beads are very much part of a glass collection, and we have what is considered an encyclopedic glass collection, meaning from very early ancient glass to glass made yesterday. And glass beads were one of the first things made in glass, and they existed through cultures around the world and were used by everyone pretty much. And so they have a really important place in both culture and history, but also in glass. And so for me, we didn't have a lot of beadwork. And so it was really important for me to engage a new contemporary piece of beadwork for our collection. And Joyce Scott is one of the premier and the most wonderful artists working in beads and glass. And so you see this amazing neck piece, and she creates these kind of fanciful, large-scale wearable art, but also 3D works of art that incorporate, they're fully beaded, some have pieces of glass within them. But it's a very kind of specific medium for her to get her messages across. She's from Baltimore, and she's a Black woman who talks about racism and misogyny and sexism and the world that she's lived in and what it means to her through her art. So she uses beadwork as a medium to challenge these issues and to open up discourse and have conversations about the rights and the wrongs that have happened in this world. And that's really important to her. And so you can see that through the images of the people in her neck, in this neck piece specifically. And she learned how to use textiles and beads from her mother, who was also a textile artist and working with quilts and other types of textiles, who learned it from her mother. So she's honoring this tradition and this culture of passing down these techniques and these abilities and skills through the female line of her family, which is another kind of unique and really wonderful aspect to this type of art, that it is this very much part of culture and tradition, and that it can be very contemporary too, and talk about contemporary issues. And so it's just a really wonderful chance for both us to engage our glass collection and make it widen the breadth of that glass collection and the diversity, but also engage craft and contemporary craft and what that means in today's culture. This next work of art is a piece of glass made by the Italian artist Lino Tagliapietra, and it's entitled Angel Tear with a number behind it. We'll just call it Angel Tear for ease. Lino Tagliapietra is probably the best glassmaker in the world. He is in his 80s. He's been making glass since he was 14 years old, and he is from Venice, by far the most important and best known area for glassmaking in the world, which really came to the fore in the 15th and 16th century with techniques that you see here that are still continued to this day, and all made on the island of Murano, which is part of Venice. And the Venetian glassmakers are just amazingly, their technique is just, you can't even match it anywhere in the world. And Lino is by far the best at this. And he became a maestro by the age of 21. And in the 70s, American glassmakers, studio glassmaking really didn't start until the 1960s in the US because you weren't able to make glass in your own studio with a kiln at that point. So once you could get out of the manufactories and do it on your own, studio glassmaking kind of broke out. And in the 70s, glassmakers started to head to Italy to meet the glassmakers that were making this, had all of these skills and techniques already down. And one of those people was Lino Tagliapietra. And so he started teaching some of the best known glassmakers we know today, American glassmakers like Dale Chihuly, and then was invited to America to teach at schools like Pilchuck and to work with these glassmakers and to collaborate and create new works of art. And so he really helped this generation of glassmakers become better and to learn these skills that have been around for centuries and to kind of broaden their abilities with glass as they were kind of stumbling through trying to figure out how they were going to make glass themselves. And they've become, again, world-renowned themselves. And so he still makes glass to this day, as you can see. And the beautiful caning and the swirling technique is very typically Venetian. It actually looks like it has a texture to it, but when you touch it, it's perfectly smooth because it's glass, which is amazing. And the vibrant colors. He's just so highly skilled at making something look so simple that is so difficult to create. And as an artist, he wasn't represented in our collection. And as we're growing our contemporary glass collection to kind of suit this encyclopedic glass collection that we have, he was someone that we felt we needed to include. And we have the opportunity now to purchase works of art by important artists such as Lino. And so that way we can say our contemporary glass collection includes this amazing contemporary Italian glassmaker, and that talks about the Chihuly in our collection or the other contemporary glassmakers. And you can make connections between those contemporary glassmakers that were working in the past 20, 30 years and the future glassmakers that will be coming into our collection. So the oldest object, one of the oldest objects, in this exhibition, Recent Acquisitions, is this bronze bas-relief plaque by the American sculptor Augustus Saint-Gaudens. And this is a really important work of art by probably the best known American sculptor of the late 19th and early 20th century. He made some of the most iconic memorials and sculptures that you would know if you started looking at his body of work. And Saint-Gaudens is important for university museums specifically because Christian Peterson, when he came to America as a young child, as a teenager, he began living on the East Coast and he began working as an artist on the East Coast and doing die cutting and making medallions and doing these small metalworking and also trying to get commissions for larger sculptures. And so as we're developing and trying to better understand Peterson's early career before he came west and made it to Iowa State, where he spent many years as our artist in residence, trying to understand his career on the East Coast and his connections, we've come to understand that he was probably in the circle of Saint-Gaudens, if not working with Saint-Gaudens, working with some of his students like James Earl Fraser, who became a well-known sculptor in his own right. And so trying to make those connections, those tangible connections between Peterson, Saint-Gaudens, the development of his style, and then his process as he moved out west and how he changed when he came into contact with Grant Wood and the regionalist style of the Midwest. So Saint-Gaudens, this is a bas relief. Again, very similar to some of the Peterson works of art you see around campus, this very kind of rectangular, low relief type of sculpture. So that's very much a connection to the Peterson works too. And this is of a family, an important family. You see the mother, the father, and the son. And so it's a very important work of art because it's this great artist who was not represented in our collection except for a very small plaster, which we actually had thought was a Peterson and realized a few years ago that it was a Saint-Gaudens. So we didn't have any of his mature bronze or fully sculpted works of art at that point. And so now we can say we have a Saint-Gaudens, but we can also still continue to develop that connection and the history of Peterson so that we can better talk about his legacy here on this campus. And finally, we have this amazing digital work of art. So this is something totally new for us at university museums. We don't have digital art in our collection. And when I was thinking about this new gallery space and what I wanted to do for the opening exhibition when we reopened in September of 2019, I knew that there was going to be 2 long walls here. And I really wanted to do something totally different. And I'd been interested in Jennifer Steinkamp, the artist you see here, her work here, for quite a while. And as both a pioneer in this digital art world, but also as a woman in this very science and computer-based art world. And I thought this would be the perfect addition, not only to the exhibition, but finally to our collection. We were able to purchase this beautiful tree, Judy Crook. It's titled Judy Crook 13. It's one of a variation of trees, so in a series. Each tree is different. And as you watch it, it's very calming. It goes through the seasons. Although I hear often it doesn't show snow, but she lives in LA, so why would she want to show snow? But it, again, has that very kind of calming, wonderful swaying effect. People are just kind of mesmerized. But it's also technically, you think about it, how much work it went in to create each leaf, to create each branch, to create the movement, to create the bark is kind of mind-boggling when you think about the hours that go into creating this work of art, not using a paintbrush, but using her computer. And so it's a great connection to the science and technology aspect of our university at Iowa State, that is what we are known for, and that art and science do not have to be against one another, that they work together. Here you're seeing technology that is actually art and only being used to create art. It has no other reason, but it was kind of pushing forward these computer graphics and computer designing in a way to create very, very high quality, intense works of art that can change architectural space, that she can use them to really fill a room and make the room feel completely different and kind of take away the walls in a way and make the walls alive. It's a really wonderful different way of thinking about art. And unlike traditional art, you don't get a painting that you have on the wall, you get a tiny computer. So we have a tiny computer all to make this really beautiful and interesting, unique work of art. And for me, it was a way to kind of make a step forward into a new world of art. And what does that mean for our collections in the Science and Technology University? So thanks for watching this very quick tour of this exhibition, Recent Acquisitions, that is at the Brunier Art Museum. It is open until July 23rd. We're open Monday through Friday from 10 to 4, and we'll be open starting May 9th on Sundays from 1 to 4 p.m. So hopefully this summer there's plenty of opportunities to come see the exhibition. I only hit and highlighted a couple works of art that are in this space, but there's quite a few more, along with Compelling Ground, Landscapes, Environments, and Peoples of Iowa, the larger exhibition in the space. So there's a lot to see, and we hope that you'll come and visit us.